Mixed feelings, but I got out of Russia.
Hamburg airport at last. Piotr Voskresensky has finally arrived in Germany after stopovers in 3 different countries. The LGBTQ activist was forced to leave his homeland in order to avoid political persecution.
37 years. My entire life is now inside here. 1 suitcase and 1 bag. I didn't want to leave, but events proved that I made the right decision. There have been developments relating to the new law on so-called LGBTQ propaganda.
Piotr Voskresensky has been championing LGBTQ rights in Russia since 2007. When protests were still possible, he used to go out and demonstrate. His last attempt to promote tolerance towards sexual minorities in Russia was his private museum. He exhibited art related to Russian LGBTQ history, but Piotr had to close it down after receiving more and more threats. A human rights organization supported Voskresensky in his escape to Germany.
Since the invasion began on February the 24th, 2022, it became clear to me that a fresh crackdown was inevitable. For the first few months, I was even afraid to leave my apartment.
Voskresensky is worried about the safety of queer people in Russia. He said that many live in fear, particularly those in small towns and rural areas. The new law against what's being called, quote, LGBTQ propaganda was passed by the Russian parliament last year. It basically aims to ban any depictions of homosexuality that might be seen as positive.
Since the beginning of the war, most LGBTQ organizations have either been shut down by the authorities or had to be evacuated from Russia. There are only a few initiatives left that help the LGBTQ community on location. And it's not clear how long they will continue to exist because the state is targeting activists. The authorities can do anything they want when nobody is there to resist.
Piotr Voskresensky is going to spend the next few months in a shelter for refugees. He says the most important thing is that he is safe. Now he aims to support queer people in Russia from Germany, if that is possible.
It's impossible to live in Russia if you understand.
Apologies for the audio problems there. DW's Moscow bureau chief Yuri Reshetto joined me from Riga in Latvia, as DW is banned from reporting in Russia. He's reported extensively on the experiences of LGBTQ people in Russia, and he explained how difficult their lives have now become.
Well, it all depends on how you live, and if you show your homosexuality or your being transgender and transsexual, and where you live. And in the cities, of course, LGBTQ people have it much easier than in the countryside, but that is no different here in Europe. The problem in Russia isn't everyday life, but the potential danger that the LGBTQ community permanently faces. And this danger is hidden firstly in the notorious law on so-called gay propaganda. We saw it in the report. That is, any pro-gay remark, even praise about a film, for example, any remark that is not negative can be punished because it could be understood as positive and ultimately gay propaganda. And secondly, it's about the general effort of the state to persecute people who think differently, and especially in times of war, it's about people who publicly protest against this so-called special military operation in Ukraine. If you are also gay, you are an easy target for the Russian justice system.
So how is this crackdown by the Kremlin on the LGBTQ community viewed by the Russian population in general?
Well, there is no such thing as the Russians or the Russian population. There is no such thing as the Germans or the Americans. I have met plenty of open-minded and tolerant people in Russia, nor would I say that Russians are homophobic from birth. But first, many are afraid of being different in any way. Secondly, many men in Russia are brought up as macho, strong men who are never allowed to show weakness, and being gay is interpreted as weakness in Russia. Third, many Russians say, what I don't know, I don't don't care to know. It doesn't hurt me. That is, as long as LGBTQ people remain invisible as LGBTQ people in the society, it's okay. I know Russians who are publicly homophobic but have LGBTQ friends in their private circle. And finally, homophobia and transphobia are used politically. For example, when Russians were called to vote for constitutional changes 3 years ago, the government advertised with anti-gay videos, deliberately increasing hatred of LGBTQ community.
If we could just talk about the report that we just saw, the activist says that he now wants to support Russian LGBTQ people from his exile in Germany. What form could that take?
Well, of course, it's better to fight against human rights violations in the country itself, and discrimination against LGBTQ people is clearly a human rights violation. But the circumstances have become so dangerous that there are hardly any NGOs in Russia working on the issue. What Piotr from the report can do from Germany is, of course, or from Europe, to help other LGBTQ people to leave Russia and if their lives or safety are at risk.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. But thanks so much for now, Yuri Roshetto, reporting from Riga.